Hello there, my name is Marella Fife and I'm speaking to you this evening from my home in Glenhorgel on the edge of the Sperns. And I want to speak to you about why I am taking a stand against extractive mining in the Sperns in Northern Ireland. The title of my discussion this evening is What Happens When the Wild Animal of Our Soul Seeks to be Heard in the World? I often muse to myself how different the world would be if some humans had chosen not to act, not to be a stand for something, not to be accountable. In fairy tales and legends, we hear the narratives of the chief protagonists in the story forced to take action, even though they were not seeking adventures, as in the case of Frodo in Lord of the Rings, who just wanted to avoid trouble, stay at home in the Shire and look after his garden. Sometimes we are handed a pup of a deal and are left with no choice. Take Jack and the Beanstalk. Jack, a poor country boy, trades the family cow for a handful of beans, which grow into an enormous beanstalk, reaching up into the clouds. Jack climbs the beanstalk and finds himself in the castle of an unfriendly giant. Pretty damn sure when Jack got up that day, he wasn't wishing for this particular set of circumstances to show up in his life. Teaching and practicing yoga and creating a garden that welcomes all beings, whilst leading a life of quiet enjoyment and contemplation, is my version of Frodo's life. So why can't I just be happy with my hands in the mundane soil of an everyday comfortable life and keep my head down? What drives my wild soul to step out of the comforting world of normality, to make a stand, to actively court discomfort, to attract antagonism and hostility, to walk into the wild, dark woods, to take on a monumental task, when I would much rather be down in the vegetable garden doing the weeding? I guess Yeats's poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree, somehow answers this. I will rise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, and a hive for the honey bee. And I will live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings, and midnight all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will rise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement grey. I hear it in the deep heart's core. So that line again, and I shall have some peace there. What a precious gift we've been given as human beings. This paradise of life on earth, and how we've abused, thrashed, eroded, contaminated this magnificent, this stunning natural world we were born into through our thoughtlessness, our greed, our lack of prudence. To pass this gift of nature forward, our natural world, intact, in a non-degraded way, surely is in the public interest of today's communities and the peoples of tomorrow. Their future quality of life lies in our hands and is wholly dependent on each of our individual actions. Probing even more deeply, I ask myself, how can I continue to live a life of when I know that the way I am living will profoundly impact the quiet enjoyment of the lives of all other beings in the near future? What gives me that right? This thought alone drives me out of my garden and into the boxing ring of peaceful activism. I know I must climb that magic beanstalk and take on the unfriendly giants for those not yet born. It feels like it is my duty, my contribution. In yogic terms, this would be known as my dharma. Much as I would like to, I am incapable of stopping myself from making a stand. The wild animal of my soul seeks to be heard in the world. To return to my opening sentence, how different the world would be if some humans had chosen not to act, not to be a stand for something, not to be accountable. On a personal level, the quality of my life today would be very different if the suffragette movement had simply never happened. I, for one, am very grateful to those women who made that stand. Looking at it from the other side, I asked myself, what if we just keep consuming, keep living as if nature was an endless resource? Didn't give a damn about the collapsing ecological systems, air and water pollution, toxic runoff from extractive industries, carbonization of the atmosphere, and acidic, dying oceans. The answer, the quality of life for our descendants, who will curse us to eternity because we chose not to act. And what a legacy we will leave to them. A dying, impoverished, natural world on a decaying planet, no longer fit for human survival. I think to myself, it doesn't have to be like this. We've been given a choice and we can choose a different path. To follow this path, however, means to step away from the norm, to be the Frodos of the world, to actively court controversy and criticism, and to voyage out into the wild and dangerous woods of the unknown, to choose that path less traveled. My soul, that deepest and most profoundest, wildest, heartfelt part of me, calls me out, forcing the question, what does this life want from me? Want from the life that has chosen to show up in my body? As I write this today, I'm waiting to receive my first caution ever in my life from the police tomorrow. I am scared, anxious, and full of doubt. And yet, in a way, it has made me even more resolute. By nature, I'm a law-abiding person. I never could have predicted this happening in my life. It wasn't, as you might say, on my wish list. So if any of what I say here resonates with you, perhaps you too might consider making a stand for the natural world, wherever it shows up in the arena of your life. It is, after all, the only world we have. And in the words of Arundhati Roy, another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing.